Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
I'm Damali.
And in this episode, we want to discuss with you AI,
Yeah.
a very hot topic recently, will probably continue to be a major topic. And actually, in this discussion, we're going to do this in two parts. So, this is going to be the first episode of this discussion. And then I think next week, we will share with you the second part. So, in this first part, we want to dive in to the concept of how we are programming AI in terms of what values, what experiences, what data are we using to program, create, edit these AI programs, AI software, AI machines, and whether or not we can truly have these machines and softwares being utilized in a way that either does not have bias or has the capability of navigating through bias. All right. So that is where we're going in this episode. So to start, okay, let's first start with where this conversation is going when it comes to human values and how we're trying to utilize human values to align with AI machinery, AI softwaring, AI programming. So, Damali, you can go ahead and start in terms of what those approaches are looking like right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So our main, I guess, well, I don't know if I say issue. I suppose it can mean issue is how do we make artificial intelligence work with us, work with humans without being, I suppose, compromised. I guess is the best word for it. Um, our main thing is are we able to create robots that are aligned with our human values and then act without bias? Because of course everyone knows that humans, we all have biases, right? And but interestingly enough, I had read I guess an article about this. I think it was like an experiment they did where when humans when humans make decisions, if they don't think the decision affects them, then they make their decision differently than if it does. So if it's like and I think they called it like the veil of ignorance, I believe it was called, where if something is personally affecting you, then you'll be like, okay, well, I have to do this because something will happen to me. But if it has nothing to do with you, then it's easier for you to make more, I suppose, like unbiased decisions about things. And the reason they brought this up was because of robots and how like robots, we're trying to make them be, help us, but not have the biases and things that we have against things. So they had these approaches to alignment and how they can have robots work for us. So they're like, oh, well, maybe human oversight. So maybe we can have robots working very well, but humans always have to be checking up on them to make sure that they're working that we need them to be. But obviously, this can be an issue because humans all have their biases and prejudices and things like that. They also brought up like value learning. So like robots would have to study humans' behaviors, and they would have to know us very well to be able to know how to help us, right? And then they also talked about how we can control and like contain the robots. And yeah, so that was kind of like to start with how do we connect these things together. And yeah, and it's difficult because how can we have AI like be able to study us, but we don't want them to be biased, but they have to know about our values, but we don't even fully, as we see with how the world is now with all of the problems happening and things like that. We don't even always go by our values. Like we sometimes act like, oh, this is good and this is bad and that's it, and this is black and white, and like, but we know we don't live in black and white, right? There's many complex reasons to why we make our decisions and things like that. So yeah, so to start, that's kind of what they're trying to figure out about artificial intelligence.
And with those approaches, I think piggybacking off of,
We're always
the,
piggybacking.
the values and the biases that we're dealing with, it makes it, I think it makes it even more important of a topic for more people to understand. Because I feel like AI is taking how we navigate things as a consumer to a completely different level. So, for example, my stove will turn on regardless of what my skin color is. The speaker will play the music regardless of what my gender is. That's kind of, as a consumer, it didn't really, before it was like, as long as the gadget works, as long as the machine does the 1 or 2 or 3 things it's supposed to do, I don't need to know how it works. I don't need to know how it was manufactured. I probably will never know what all the gears are inside or what they're for. The thing about AI, artificial intelligence, which I think is why more and more discussions and debates and books and classes and stuff are coming out about it, is because this next level of creating or inventing or manufacturing things with AI would require, at least in this era, because we're so new to it.
Yeah.
The consumer, I feel like we can't be passive consumers to AI like we are to regular machines. Because in this level, which is where the biases and values come in about all these approaches you listed, is that with AI machines, there is an issue or a glitch where the AI is not going to read this because it's flagged my photo because of the color of my skin, or it's flagged my voice because it doesn't fit the box in which its algorithm thought it's supposed to fit. And what's been happening is that there are a repeated, not habit, but a repeated pattern that's being seen where the AI is further reflecting the oppressive biases and prejudices of certain demographics put onto everybody else. So when we have the deal happening of like, oh, the AI, it's taking, you're utilizing AI to flag photos for something, but it's choosing to only flag certain people, not because that person is a criminal, but because they look a certain way. And it's usually not flagging the white person in the photo to be the criminal, or it's not flagging the man to be the criminal. Like it's doing it where it's like obvious whoever programmed this, it's their bias that is being put out into the machine. And so when you look at, okay, if we have for approaches of how to deal with that, we'll just have humans supervising it all the time. Okay. So if you're doing that, which humans do you choose to do the supervision? What criteria do they fill to make sure that they are supervising it in a way that the machine is actually is benefiting everybody? Well, we're going to have our vice president of inclusivity, diversity, ethnicity in there. And it's like, yes, but we've been doing that with people. And that really hasn't done anything for the office space throughout the world, claiming you're trying to be inclusive and you're not. So regardless if you have your token one so-called diverse person in the room, if the AI still, that supervision still does not prevent the AI from causing these types of issues, then maybe human oversight may not be the best solution. So then, okay, value learning and data, which is technically what a lot of the AI things are doing now already, where it will absorb everything that's already on the internet. And that is the data is using to understand how to respond to you, what to create for you, what to bring up in text or photos for you. Well, if that's the case, unfortunately, we see that still has a whole lot of bias in it, because the internet is also full of bias because humans are biased. So when you have things like you will search, like people have noted, they'll do that exercise of, I'm going to put in a search term in the search box on Google, right? And it's gonna say, oh, and you search for certain things, like either you want to search for the beauty standard, you're going to search for superheroes, you're going to search for and ask for images. and it's biased about what images it's sharing with you. Mm-hmm. Beauty is only a certain image. A child is only a certain image, that sort of thing. Well, the AI is just going to take all of that to be, well, this must be true because it's already on the internet. So I'll just continue pushing that. So for me, I feel like as trying to be savvy consumers of AI, where I feel like this era where we're in, where the consumer does have and should have a voice that matters as an opinion of how these things are being programmed. As in, it's not that, well, just take it or leave it is the only thing you can get. So this is the only stove you can get. So just take it and, try and cook with it. However, it's not like that anymore. We now we should have a say of like, how are you programming these things? Because they are being utilized in everything that now, or soon our phones will have a lot more AI stuff in it, regardless if we want it. All of the stuff we do online just for work, not any for entertainment, just for work. A lot of it, everybody has some AI component they're pushing on us now that you can't really opt out of. It's like, nah, you want this? It comes with it. So when it comes to figuring out what do we do with all these biases that the AI is inevitably having to absorb and work with, I think my question also with that, like I feel like, yes, it's important for us to understand that. And I think every person who is inventing an AI program or is those bigger corporations who are pushing it on their products, they can't pretend as if it's not a thing or claim, well, the AI is still learning, so it's just a phase, when actually you're not really doing anything to fix it. You're making it seem like we should all just continue tolerating it, like we've been tolerating bias and oppression forever. But my other question to that is, when it comes to the values we want AI to be aligned with, who gets to choose which set of values we're aligning it with? Right now, for me, I've noted, okay, AI is very Western focused because at the moment it's a lot of, for what at least we have access to here where I am, it's coming from companies in the West who are pushing these types of products. Then other parts of the world, I'm sure in Asia, they're pushing their own AI because they don't want to be using the Western version. So they will try and create their own. In Africa, it will be lovely if we had our own as well. And some people are trying to push that or at least start it up. But this requires a lot of funding. So of course, the ones who already have the capital are going to be the ones that are going to push it out and probably be a bit of a monopolist. So because AI is we're insisting that it's not just a machine. It should be able to think ahead for us. That does mean, though, that it will be aligned with values that may not fully resonate with every other culture. So if it's all just the values of the West, which again means is the biases of the West, like I noted, where because of what my face looks like, the robot will just turn off because it's glitching, because my face is not what it claims it should look like. But how can AI truly be aligned with values if it's possible there is no universal concept of values? Even though we all, yes, regardless of where you're from, we all can agree that, yeah, it's probably not a good thing to just be killing people. But when you ask, okay, so we should never kill people, right? Everyone's culture will be like, well, yeah, but, and then there's a list. Exactly. There's a list of exceptions or excuses or circumstances that maybe we can create a loophole for why we had the excuse and validation to kill that person or destroy that thing or cause harm or stop something. Yes. So I feel that would be quite confusing. Even though I know AI, it's like technically is a machine, but I will speak to it as if it is a person that, or a thing that can think for itself, because I know that's kind of where we're trying to get at in this. But that would be very confusing for the AI then to try and translate all these different values, no? So then who gets to decide which demographic of values should all AI be focusing on? The Western AI will primarily be focusing on, Western values, and that's it. The Asian one will be focusing on Asian values, and that's it. The African one, because by all means, one day we will have the African AI as well that is African focused. It will be the concepts that are universal within the African continent, even though that also has diversity within it. Yes. So all of those different AI clubs or groups, would they be able to communicate with each other if each of them actually are having a very different set of values? And then who gets to decide which one is more powerful than the other? Technically speaking, they all are powerful because they would all be programmed the right way to do what it needs to do. But are we still going to insist, well, because it came from that region, it's second to this other region, even though technically it can do this same thing. But because its values are different, we're going to create a hierarchy among AIs. Or because there's a mismatch, they actually will not be able to communicate. So there'll be a lot of like AI VPN type stuff that people have to deal with, when technically AI should be helping us to connect even better, trade even better, learn about each other better, get ahead. Everybody should be winning collectively better with this tool. Now, of course, this is all if humans are still the ones programming and in charge of it, right? As always with AI, we want to talk about all the different sci-fi movies and books that always claim that eventually the AI will be like, bet, I want to do my own thing. I'm not listening to you no more. Okay. I know technically speaking, everyone who creates AI insists that that would never happen. There's only in the movies. But I think that is a good question to put into the discussion of, do we really need the AI to be apparently copying human values? Or can we allow it to just be a machine? Like, are we possibly giving it, not to say too much, because if it's a machine, you can't give a machine too much, but are we, I feel like that discussion then goes into, well, as humans, do we even really align with values at all, truly, when nobody's looking? Or do we throw the flag or wave the flag around about values for outside validation or clout or hierarchy status, when actually you're not really participating, you're not really embodying those values? So then claiming that the AI needs to have these values that humans have, that's fine. But then if you get to the point where, okay, well, AI truly is now acting like a human, which means the AI will also be selfish. Is the AI allowed to be selfish? Or are we going to like, okay, well, you can be this amount of human, but not that amount of human? And then when we do that, then then again, the bias comes in of when you pull the plug on it. If it's actually following human values, but those human values are not benefiting you per se, does that mean the AI is working, or that means that's the excuse to pull the plug on it because it's not working for you? Because the whole point of, at least from what the products that are out now with AI, they're all being created for, is to assist humans so that we can work smarter, do less, create better, do more, things like that. And so if it's always in the assistant role, that would mean that it should always be in the mode of benefiting the person who is using it. Do human values always benefit the person that is receiving it? It must not, if all these biases are happening and so-called glitches are still happening, then it's not. So is the metric for ethics, because I get it about you don't want AI to be used. It is a tool. And so you don't want it to be used as a weapon. Right. But is the metric to make sure, the metric of its ethics or censorship or the protection security features, the metric for that, should it be based on so-called human values? Or should it be based on something else, more on the lines of these are just security measures, regardless of the location you're in, regardless of your economic status, regardless of your race or ethnicity, regardless of your education status. This is a sensor that goes in. This is the security that goes in. We are preventing you from using this to harm people. That's it. Compared to, well, it should also understand the feelings and the values and the concepts that we don't fully understand as humans either. That's why we have so many books about it, or so many people talking about it and bringing on these different angles. So that's how I feel that it's something that I think will continue being discussed, because it's something we have to create now. Like, I feel we're in the era now of figuring that out now. And as consumers, at the moment, I'm not inventing an AI, robot, but I might at some point in time, because it could be fun. You listening might be about to create something with these AI tools. And I feel like it would be beneficial for all of us to understand that we do need to be active consumers of this, because I think it's something that will play a bigger role in all of our lives gradually, and something that you really cannot opt out of, regardless if you want to be in the grid or off the grid, in the matrix, off the matrix. It's something I don't think we can turn a blind eye to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And I agree with the values when it comes to like happiness or responsibility, loyalty, fairness, power, all of those things. Like, how do we measure that? Like, how do you measure like what, oh, okay, this thing makes everybody happy, right? Or this this means that it's fair. But in one country, they think that, oh, doing this is fair. In another country, it's not. That's why we have so many problems in the like law enforcement and making laws, because like um if not everyone agrees, then how do we choose which one is right, especially with anything of laws or anything of healthcare, education. There are a lot of different opinions towards this. So to piggyback off of what you said about, do the robots have to be aligned? Like, do they have to be aligned to our values, or can they just do things that don't need to be subjective? Like, they just do objective things or factual things? Like, do they need to study our behavior, and do they have to ask questions to learn about us, or can they just function the way a stove functions, or a fan, or things that there's no emotional thing going on with the stove? It just does what it has to do. Or a washing machine, right? It's going to wash regardless of who clicks it or who touches it, right? And then also, like, there's this what if I think there could be this loss of freedom also, or like community. Like, what if like if we rely too heavily on AI to do things for us, like, will we lose what it means to be human? Like, will we lose like our feeling of community and like working hard? And because it's like, well, what's the point of working hard? And AI can do it for me anyway. So all the things, all these things we like to talk about, power and, never giving up and trying your best until you get successful. And then you're like, well, I can just get an AI to do it, or all the AIs are doing it. So why should I, and then so everything that we built everything on, like, it's kind of like, what's the point then, right? So then will we have to become we're a different type of human now, kind of thing, or we're not really human? Certain people, I think there are people that like to like their jobs, or want to be in charge, or want to, or are good at being, because some people, even if they have biases, they try their best to be as fair as they possibly can. But even people that do that also get hate from people, or like, why do they do that, even though it was all that they could do? Or sometimes, or the usual thing where it's like, if how people act when they're at their best is very different than when they're at their worst, right? And sometimes they might not make the best decisions. Also, there's that saying of like, who are you when no one's around, kind of thing. Like, because sometimes people, they act a certain way because people are looking at them, but then when they're by themselves, they're doing all these like horrible things, and there's all this hidden stuff, and we're like, whoa, I never knew that about you, kind of thing. And which happens a lot, especially with like celebrities, where when we find out that, oh, actually celebrities are humans too, you guys, and everyone has all these different opinions about things, and what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and like what, what's in it for me and all of these things. And I'm not sure if like can humans be trusted to create an AI that can work for us and do everything that we need without the bias part. And yeah, I'm not sure if, and then even with like suffering, where we see it too, where bad things are happening and people either don't care or they don't do anything about it, or like it doesn't really seem like it's, or yeah, where we think, oh, well, we can't do anything and we're not strong enough, so and then we even see it in other like if we want to bring it like superheroes, right? Like if you want to look into like the Avengers or the Incredibles, and like how superheroes will do good and all this stuff, but like people weren't always happy with them, right? Like, like I think of like Age of Ultron, or like or the Incredibles, where like, like the superheroes try to do something and the humans are like, why did you get in the way? I was trying to do what I wanted and why are you taking away my freedom? We're very into like, what about my freedom kind of thing. And then, or also like, even though they saved the day, a lot of people died. So you saved the day, people died. So why should we congratulate? There's that whole thing, and it's true with the killing thing, where it's like it's easy to say, oh yeah, killing is bad and we should never kill, never, never, never. But as we can see, sometimes there's we have all of these exceptions to the rule, and we don't even know how to measure our value or measure our what's good and what, because you can't just say, oh well, obviously this is good and obviously this is bad, but we don't know, kind of thing. And that makes me think of, I'm a big like anime fan, so obviously there's a lot of animes that are a Japanese anime that like talks about a dystopian type world kind of thing. And for one of them, it's called, I don't know if anyone's seen Psycho-Pass. If you haven't, if you're an anime fan, you should watch Psycho-Pass. It's really great, and I've watched it like 3 times. And basically, without giving away spoilers, there is this system called like Sybil. There's like the system that's created, and it's seemingly a robotic system and it's AI, and it makes decisions for everyone. So like it chooses what job you're going to have. It chooses, if you're a police officer, it chooses who you should kill, who you shouldn't. It has all these things and blah, blah, blah. And obviously we can see how this can be a problem, right? Because the AI is basically making decisions for all of the humans. And of course, many humans would not be okay with that. And of course, if you're like a bad guy or a criminal, you might think, maybe I don't like that we're controlling people like this, and I'm going to prove something else and things like that. So without, I don't want to give spoilers away for this great show, but basically it shows how just because you have an AI system that apparently can make all these decisions for you, not there's, I mean, there's some humans that are not okay with this. They're kind of like, why are you making, you're kind of predetermining my life without, without me having a choice, kind of thing. And we see this constant fight in the show about like, should humans have more of a say or should AI? Like, who is the one that is at fault here? And then there's times where the AI wants to learn more of how to, create a certain type of city or system or world, kind of thing. And so yeah, so this comes up a lot. And then also another thought that comes to mind is like war or politics or world hunger. Like, could we get AI to help this? Could we get AI to be able to figure out a way to deal with all the food and all of the war and all of that stuff, and so we can end it where there's no world hunger, everyone has food, and we're able to figure out a way where we don't have to have like certain wars, like, or there's a way that, oh well, this country and this country can talk and we can talk about things and figure out another way to another solution. I mean, obviously it's a very like, naive way to look at it, but could we have an AI that can lessen the atrocities or lessen the suffering happening without taking all of our rights away? And all other like animes I've watched too, like, I don't know if people probably know about Attack on Titan. That one's kind of a popular one, and it just ended, so it's like a big deal. But basically in Attack on Titan, you have like 2 different groups that are like fighting each other for different reasons, and some of the groups don't know what the other group knows. Like, if like it's kind of, in some parts you see, if they had a discussion and they like talked together, then maybe the certain wars or suffering or violence that happened wouldn't have happened, right? And there's a lot of brainwashing that goes on in Attack on Titan also. which another thing where it's like, maybe humans wouldn't brainwash other humans if we had AI that could, deal with it for us. But then it's kind of like, but do we need to do that? Maybe maybe AI can assist us in a way where there's no emotions attached, right? Because anything with like emotions or how I feel about things or why I do things makes things kind of murky, and then it's difficult. What is the right answer? And also it makes me think of another movie that I watched. What was it called? I think it was with Ben Affleck's brother, I think. And I don't know if you remember this one. It was with Ben Affleck's brother, and it was with Morgan Freeman. And I've forgotten what it was called. But basically, in the story, there's this mother who's like, she's not a very good mother. She doesn't take care of her kid. And so all of these, I guess I don't have to say spoiler alert because I don't know what the movie is. But anyway, Casey Affleck, yeah, the Ben Affleck's brother. Okay, well, spoiler alert. Basically, you have these like, it's a really old movie, so you haven't seen it. Okay, oh well. The police officers basically kind of they kidnap this girl to take care of her because the mother is like, she doesn't take care of the kid. She's a horrible mother, doesn't do what she's supposed to do, stuff like that. And they kidnap and they take this kid away and they try to save the kid. It comes out obviously, and a bunch of cops get killed and all this stuff happen. And then and even though there's one cop that figures it out and the mother gets the kid back. And then at the end of the movie, you just see the mother's back with her kid and she's still neglecting her kid. Like she's still not being a good mother. And the cop is just kind of sitting there and he's like, I did the right thing, but like the mother is still like, and you can tell that if the cops had been able to take the daughter, they would have taken care of her more. Right. So, but then again, there's that moral thing where, well, shouldn't the daughter be with her mother? Right. But then on the other hand, it's like, but they would take better care of the daughter. But, and so the end of that movie is very morally conflicting because it's like, who is right? Like, shouldn't the mother, right? And so if we have the AI and they are not able to figure that out with our values, and how does that work? So like, maybe they don't then. Can we make AI do things for us and only do tasks that don't have emotional or value or a value system in them? Because like who sometimes, who is the bad guy? Who is the good guy? And we also have all these like anti-heroes in movies too, where it's like, yeah, they're like the hero, but they're not, but they are. I don't really know, and it's like, oh, how do we, And then you can't give the AI too much power because then they might just take over, like we always see in the movies. And then that thing where the idea of having people like tell you what, like the AI telling you what to do, like you must do this, even though like you don't want to, but they're like, no, you have to do this. This is what's right for you, or even like simple stuff, like when the doctor tells you to take medicine, you don't take it, or like your mom tells you that, oh, stop playing with the stove, you're going to hurt yourself, but you keep on doing it. You know what I mean? But then but look how mad you get when people tell you what to do, but you don't want to do it. And then the AI is like, no, you must do this or else we're going to take you to jail. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, so there's a lot, there's definitely a lot to, at stake. And I don't know if if humans can't be trusted to make the AI, then who will be trusted to make the AI so it's not biased? Or can we make an AI that works for us but has their bias doesn't have to get into an issue, like it doesn't have to have anything to do with it? So yeah, it's interesting things to ponder that we are pondering.
Yes. So in terms of encouragement or solutions, because I feel this is, as you also said, this is something that I think, yes, people will be wondering and thinking about for a while, because it's like only now that we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we, I feel like this notion of we actually do want to do better.
Yes, we do.
Sort of thing. Like, okay, here's an era where we're going to be inventing new things, which means there will be things that are going to be utilized for generations to come. Can we do better? Can we actually set the foundation for it so it's not something that needs to be destroyed later because it turned into something that we allowed to turn into that actually was harmful? So an example of that is there's this book that came out recently, which I'm looking forward to reading. I think it came out last month, and it's called Unmasking AI, My Mission to Protect What is Human in a World of Machines. And it's by Dr. Joy Buolamwini, who is a Ghanaian American Canadian woman.
Oh.
Yes. And in this book, she dives in terms of what she calls like uncovering the coded gaze, coded CODED. And she's showing how there's a lot of encoded discrimination and exclusion in all tech products. And she has started a league, actually, that tries to prevent AI harm called the Algorithmic Justice League. Isn't that so cool? Like, I love that. Yes. Go ahead, Justice League. Come on. So it's trying to apply, because she has a background in all this research, AI research, as well as tech and computer science. And so in this book, and as well as the Algorithmic Justice League, they're trying to apply intersectional lenses to the tech industry and the research sector to show how racism, sexism, colorism, and albiism can overlap and render broader harm in this humanity of excoded vulnerabilities in how we are adopting AI tools. And I like how she noted that she likes to remind us that computers are reflections of both the aspirations and the limitations of the people who create them.
Ooh.
Right? Isn't that a good? Ooh. So, and I love that, because I feel like it's good that we're trying to hold ourselves accountable of understanding our own perceived limitations. Because I think a lot of them is like, okay, we're just tolerating it because that's how we've been doing it all the time. Yes. So from what I've heard, because of course, because it recently came out, she's been doing interviews and touring, and people have been doing reviews of the book. And it seems like a really encouraging book for both people who are experts in tech and computer science and stuff, and people who are not, who actually are just, you are consumers, but you are interested in things like this. So I don't necessarily have a computer science background. I just feel in my past life, I was a mad scientist with an underground.
Of course.
So these things resonate with me in that way, right? So I like the last quote from her. She says, or writes in the book, "The rising frontier for civil rights will require algorithmic justice. AI should be for the people and by the people, not just the privileged few."
Heavy,
gotta snap the fingers for that. Come on. Yes. So I think that if you're looking into a resource that goes beyond possibly the sensationalizing of what AI tools can do, or the fear mongering of what AI tools are going to do, I feel like this book, or even her as a person who's been doing interviews and content, I think that is a good place to start in terms of getting you a better understanding of what's at stake in terms of where these AI tools are going and what we need to be cognizant of or aware of, and how we are as consumers, or possibly people, because again, we are the consumers who are building it, because these AI tools are using us to create and do what they need to do. So we will definitely share a link to the book and the interview in the show notes and the blog post for this podcast. And then later, when I finally get my hands on the book, because I do prefer physical books over digital ones. Yeah, whenever I get my hands on it, we will definitely come back probably in a later episode and bring that content into the context of the conversations that we're having. Yes.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, I think just as, because we're starting to wrap up a bit in terms of solutions and encouragement, I think that's an example of one, finding the information so you can be better informed about what we're dealing with and what you are possibly seeing on your feeds or online in general. And I think also allow yourself to think bigger. Because since in this era of AI, the consumer is possibly also part of the invention, I think we should give ourselves permission to have those ideas of like, what kind of AI tool do I need in my life?
Yeah.
Like what kind of features personally would be useful to me, as opposed to like we had to do in the past when it comes to manufacturing products, tech and otherwise. We kind of will just, well, the company said I needed this. So, I mean, I guess I do need a lamp that turns on. So, but it's like, is that it? Or would it be great if the lamp could also like, I don't know, dust the ceiling, things like, figure out.
Yeah. Like, what do you need?
Yeah. Like, what do you need? Because all these companies actually need you to tell them what you need, for them to understand what they are, what features that need to be in what they are inventing and manufacturing. And I think if we are more proactive about it, as in we're already thinking of it, because sometimes when you ask somebody, so what do you need? Can I get back to you? Like it's, you kind of feel like you're put on the spot and you may not understand the question or know how to answer it. But if in this era of, okay, you see all this talk and debate happening, start thinking for yourself, what would reasonable, actually beneficial AI tools look like in my life? Right? Because some people take note of like, it's great that you can like write and do all this stuff, but can you just like clean my house? Can you
like,
fold the
when
laundry?
I need to wake up, I wake up in the morning, can you just carry me and get me dressed and out the door without
Can you do the laundry and fold it and put it back in the closet for me?
Or hang it up?
Can you hang it for me? Could you, that sort of thing? Could you help me study faster and easier? Could you just like automatically let me know what should I invest in, and then which is fine and safe or whatever? Yeah. Like, those sorts of tools, they don't only need to be memes and jokes. They could be real things. So I think as consumers, we should also take ownership of that we also have a say and an authority in this era that we're in of inventing these new products and technologies, and eventually full infrastructures are going to be based off of this technology. So I think because we're at the beginning stages of it, let's take ownership of that. Let's be real participants in it, because this time around, it, as that quote said, it should not just be the privileged few that are participating. All of us should have a say, and all of us should receive a benefit from these tools and products. Yeah.
And I think also, and I think with the AI not being in the value thing, I think about like hospitals. Like having AI in hospitals would be helpful, right? So you have an AI so you don't have to like fill in your, like, when you're at the hospital, you have to wait for so long and you have to like fill in your information like 50 times, and everybody has to double check, triple check, all this stuff kind of thing. If you have an AI that just puts it in, boom, 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 it's done, then, or even with like visa stuff, right? Where they just put it in, boom, 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 it's done kind of thing. Or people are sick, or people have, like I read about this lady who I think she had lost her hearing or her speaking, and they used AI so she can speak again, or like to see again, right? Or if you're missing limbs, or like, or it helps you when you're sick, or it's, there's less invasive surgery and things like that. And in those instances, you don't need the value system is not really a thing. You just, I need this to do this task, and that's it, right? So yeah, I guess I was going to say the endless are the possibilities are endless is what I was going to say. I don't know why I said this, but yeah. So yeah, interesting topic.
Yes.
I think we can wrap up here, I believe.
Yes, we can. Thank you for this conversation. Yes. I hope you listening enjoyed the discussion. And as always, please let us know what you think of the episode. What are your opinions or perspectives when it comes to AI tools, or where we're going in this AI era? Also, make sure in terms of discussing and commenting, yes, if you are listening on Spotify, you can share short commentary with us on that app. If you would like to go further in depth, going back and forth in conversation, please either reach out to us on social media, or there's a link in the show notes where you can go to my blog at dagnyzenovia.com, and there is a blog post for each episode. And there we can go back and forth in paragraph mode if you would like about these different topics. So thank you again for listening. Really appreciate you. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Take care.